Hey, this is Jersh editing myself into the beginning of the podcast. I just wanted to let everybody know that there are timestamps for this episode in the show notes. So if you don't want to listen to a particular segment, but another particular segment interests you, just look at the time code in the show notes. That's also where the social media and email address is for us. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Right now, it's Superjersh Show. Probably going to be named something else. It's been a while. Going to try to make it a regular thing again. Lots of challenges, personal and professional, motivational, creativity, time-wise. A lot of barriers that I'm overcoming internally and externally to try to get back on this horse. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the music bracket results from the Discord, which if you're not in the Discord, you know what I'm talking about, and we will summarize that in a minute. And then we are going to review Evil Dead Rise, and I say we because Mirrors is here with me. Hello, Mirrors.
Hello, mirrors.
Yeah, what the old Gunyer joke. Say hello, Gunyer. Hello, Gunyer. So we're going to talk about Evil Dead Rise, which is a movie that had a brief run in theaters, then went to video on demand. It's still a relatively new release. I think it came out less than a month ago. Anyway, we'll talk about that movie at the end of the show. And just as an explanation and a reintroduction, what I'm trying to do is anchor the podcast around a movie every episode because it is something that is pretty much universally enjoyed, that a lot of people can make time to consume in our busy lives. And I just, we like movies. Mirrors, do you like movies?
I do actually. Yeah, I majored in film, so I guess I like it a little bit.
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with movies, I think. I think I hate most of them because I resent the wasted potential. But the ones that are good, I like idolize. You know what I mean? Like, holy
Yeah.
shit. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about this music bracket. So this music bracket idea, which we might do more of them too. I personally had a lot of fun, like challenging myself to say, well, which one do I like better and why? But the general consensus is in the Super Jersh Discord group. I put together with Daryl's help, big help, shout out Daryl. I I put together a list of 56 songs. It was like 28 songs in the left bracket and 28 songs in the right bracket. And the theme was the chord progression of C, G, A minor, F. And obviously, I took some liberties. They aren't all exactly that. Some of them are A minor, F, C, G. Some of them are E minor, C, G, D. Some of them are, I don't know, B minor, G, D, A, whatever. It's all essentially kind of the same concept. Some of them skip one of them and only use three of the chords, but it's still kind of the main heart of the progression and the melody over it. It's like they want to do C, G, A minor, F, but they can't commit. So anyway, and I also, it was not from, a complete end all be all list. I actually shared the bracket with a close friend of mine who's also a musician, and he was rattling off like, oh, could have been this song, could have been this song. I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah. So there's always future potential for more brackets, CGA minor F part 2, Disney songs, instrumental songs, metal ballads, maybe, hard rock or hard metal songs that we think, people could break into that genre with. There's lots of possibilities. So what I want to do, Mirrors, is I want to share the submissions from the Discord first, just the top 4, and then I want to get
Okay.
into yours and mine's selections so we can talk about them a little bit more at the end of the segment, okay?
Okay. Sounds good.
And so what we'll do is, and I don't, maybe you'll have the same prediction for everyone, but I will give you the top 3. Or I'll give you like number 4, number 3, number 2, and then I want you to try pick what you think their number 1 was, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we have Ghost first. So Ghost, her number 4 was Taylor Swift Clean. Her number 3 was Taylor Swift All Too Well. Her number 2 was Aha Take On Me. What do you think her number 1 was?
Hmm.
They're
I'm
all
gonna
shots in the dark, I suppose, because there's no pattern, you know, except
right. I'm
maybe
trying
Taylor
to think
Swift.
about yeah, maybe like knowing a bit of her music taste. I'm gonna say Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
No. And man, damn, isn't it going to be cool if you do blindly guess one of these first places?
Yeah.
There's no way to know. It's just fun to guess. Um, to be honest, I thought "Don't Stop Believin'" was going to destroy this bracket, and I don't think anybody
Mhm.
picked it. Spoilers. Um, so ghost number one was Bush Glycerine.
Oh, okay. That
So
makes sense.
what? You were familiar with that song, Mears?
I think I had probably heard it. I think it was like when I went to YouTube to search it, it had
Mm-hmm.
shown that I'd already listened to some of it. So I think you probably mentioned it at some point. Um,
It
but so
is.
it was familiar. Well, it was familiar sounding because it's uh
Uh huh.
CGAmF,
Yeah.
but it was yeah, there was something familiar about it. I've heard it before somewhere.
Yeah, that one is like unapologetically straightforward. So, for example, that song, I actually think it's F, C, D minor, A sharp, but that's literally it's the same idea. And if I, had a guitar, I could show you how it's the same idea. But yeah, so
Mhm.
that's Ghost top four. Tara's top four. Her number four was Foo Fighters Everlong. Number three, Panic at the Disco, 9 in the afternoon. Number two, Lady Gaga, Paparazzi. Do you think her number one is?
Blink 182.
Nope. It
Oh.
was Linkin Park Numb.
Oh, okay.
And I'll share a couple. I should share maybe a. I asked you your opinion of Glycerine. I'll share mine. It's a fine song. It's a really solid song to learn on guitar if you're trying to teach yourself guitar. If you can learn Glycerine, you can learn 100 songs because it is a really standard, really popular chord progression. Learn any of these songs, and you've learned all the songs. I mean, at least the choruses, you know? Um, and I do like the melody of Glycerine. It's a little self-serious and a little emo and angsty, but they were really young when they wrote that song. Like that band made it really big in their late teens, early 20s, so it fits. So for Linkin Park, Numb. Also in the brackets, I specifically put I had a lot of fun pitting the songs against each other. Like I
Mhm.
put Linkin Park Numb and Linkin Park Crawling right next to each other because
Yeah.
they're essentially the same song. Like like damn near exactly the same song. Um because as far as like chord progression goes. But and like structurally, it's you know Chester scream, catchy chorus, Chester sing, you know, soft,
Hmm.
introspective lyrics. Like they're like very structurally similar. It was like literally like Meteora needs a crawling song. Let's write Numb. So anyway, um, yeah, and I also put some songs on the left side of the bracket and some songs in the right bracket, thinking that they would meet head to head in the finale. But I'll talk about that later. So yeah, I think Numb is a really good song. I think I have a closer attachment to Crawling because I listened to it more growing up, even though I listened to Meteora more than Hybrid Theory.
Hmm.
Um, but I think Numb is a stronger song. It's like a more complete version of the ideas that were in Crawling. Slightly better melody, deeper lyrics, and better sound production because they had hit it big by that point. What do you think? What's your overall general opinion of Linkin Park Numb?
I'll save it when we get to my bracket.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So Daryl's top four. Number four, Evanescence Going Under. Number three, Frozen Let It Go. Number two, Natalie Imbruglia Torn. What do you think Daryl's number one was?
I would have said that would have been number one. Um, I'm gonna go with Poker Face.
Amazingly, Gaga's not in his top four. I would have guessed a Gaga song too, probably.
How dare you, Daryl?
I never would have guessed the song. I was surprised when I read it. It's Don Henley, Boys of Summer.
Oh.
And so the way that Boys of Summer works, so if Glycerine is F, C, D minor, A sharp, Boys of Summer is F, C, C, A sharp. It skips the D minor and just plays one chord twice and then goes to the end of the progression. So it cheats a little bit, but it's still essentially the same idea because it starts and ends where the progression starts and ends. I'm a big fan of Boys of Summer. I think the Ataris remake of the early 2000s is a really solid pop punk remake of a really classic song. I think Torn. I think I might like Torn more than Boys of Summer though, just from a melody perspective. I like the melody of the chorus, but it's kind of just like Don Henley talking about summer. It's like 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 there's not as much kind of
It's so
variety.
good.
Oh, it's fucking awesome. It's a great song, and we're splitting hairs here. All the songs, all these songs are great, I think, in some respects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you get down to the nitty gritty, I suppose. Also, I did not know that Torn, Natalie Imbruglia, is a cover. She took that from another artist. Not stole it. It was with permission. But it was
Oh.
originally performed by another band. I saw when I was going through some of these songs and that song came up and I listened to it on YouTube. I was kind of curious what it sounded like live, so I watched a couple of live performances. I know I can't record the reaction videos. Everybody's heartbroken. But I found there was the original band did a performance of it on the Howard Stern show in the early 2000s or late 90s.
Oh.
And they were like, yeah, this is we. So the woman who actually wrote the song, which I think the lyrics in that song are fantastic, who wrote and performed the song, I heard the original version of it, and it's performed a little bit differently. Anyway, your thoughts on the top four there: Going Under, Let It Go, Torn, and Boys of Summer.
That is a wide range of genres there, which is great. I love that. Um, yeah, I'm not surprised by Torn. I think didn't he request that one? That was such a big song.
I think I had talked about already being familiar with it, and I shared with him a pop punk cover of it that I was
Um,
familiar with. I don't know if he ever
mhm.
asked for it as a reaction, but yeah, that one
And
was yeah.
you watched it, I think. Yeah.
I think I did it
Um,
when I was doing those bonus like 80s and 90s retro songs.
right,
I
right, right,
just
right.
like I rewatched the video for the first time in like 20 years or something like
hmm
that. Yeah.
Yeah, Evanescence, that's a great song. Love that song. Let It Go, that's really funny that that's in there.
I thought about like the Disney songs in general are so good and they're so poppy and catchy. Like that's what gave me the idea like I should just do a Disney bracket. But I was like,
Yeah.
but then I thought, well, that'll be fun. Let's throw in, some Disney songs, some songs from musicals, some songs from like older movie. You know what I mean? Like I was like, let's just have a
hmm
mix of everything and see what stands out to people. You know?
Well, and this is like such a great like you said you want to do more like a great first one that's like a whole mixed bag of all different kinds of genres. And then from there you can say, "You know what? Let's do it an emo one. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do classic 80s rock. Let's do Disney."
More one to
Um
one,
mhm.
more of a fair fight. Some of these songs are Smurfs. All right, Triss's top four. Number four was Adele, Someone Like You. Number three, Taylor Swift, All Too Well. Number
Mhm.
two, The Cranberries, Zombie. What do you think Triss's number one was?
Okay. Hmm. Let me look. Uh I'm gonna say Adele, Someone Like You.
Well, that was her number four.
Oh, that was her number four. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Mears is
Um,
listening. I'm sure everybody else is
I'm
as well.
sorry. I
Like,
was looking at the list and I was like, oh, it's that one. Um, this is hard.
shot in the dark. The time has come.
I am going to say, what did you say was number two?
Cranberries, Zombie.
Boys to Men.
That's actually a really good guess. That's a deep cut. I re-listened to that song when I was looking for early 90s songs, and I was like really taken back by how fucking good that song is. Like it really holds up. I was like, "Oh my god, this is a good song." It is not though. Fake Friend. Her number one what
Sorry, Tris.
is Foo Fighters Everlong.
Oh, okay.
So, and how Everlong got on the list, I feel like I should explain myself. Because, I mean, even without Tara saying the songs aren't CGA minor F, I kind of, for people who do know a little bit about music or who want to learn a little bit about music, maybe if they understand, again, because my brain doesn't work the way others musicians' brains work, because I taught myself, I just listened to the songs and I memorized chord progressions and I play by ear. So like I don't know everything exactly like professionally. I just know what I know that sounds like that, you know. So the way that I chose Everlong is that it is essentially like, how do I explain this? So it's like A minor F C. That's like the chorus, you know, to Everlong. So, and then at the end of it, he would play G. So he'd do A minor, F, C, G, F. And that's not exact. I can't remember the exact chords right now because it's in drop D. I'd have to have the guitar. But that's how I got. That's why Foo Fighters is included, is because the chorus is like 3/4 of that progression, and then it does the full progression at the end. So, well, let's carry your thoughts on Everlong, or both of our thoughts to Everlong, to your list. So now we're to the last two lists, to Mirror's bracket and mine. So let's do your top four first, and we'll just talk about them in order briefly. So what's your number four?
It was Foo Fighters Everlong.
Boom! Segue. So yeah, what's your history with Everlong? Is it just because that chorus is catchy, or kind of what do you like about the song in general? Do you even know do we know what he's saying? What the lyrics are?
Not really, but no, so my familiarity with this one is Guitar Hero.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So really only in the last 14 years maybe that I've been aware of this song. I thought it was really catchy. I played it a lot there. Never really paying too much attention to the lyrics, honestly. I always felt like the music was stronger, maybe. But really, yeah, that's pretty much. And like I do know other Foo Fighters songs, but not that many. Like I listened to that album that you reviewed last year.
Medicine at Midnight.
Their latest one, I guess.
Not their best one. I can point you to a couple of albums from them that are literally start to finish incredible, in my opinion.
There was another one. I think we did like a listen along.
The Color and the Shape. Probably The Color and the Shape, which Everlong is on.
Yeah, but I like The Pretender. I like that one. But I feel like that's one that like everybody likes probably. And then they did a cover of a song called Down in the Park. And I really love that song.
Man.
It's pretty much my familiarity with them.
Yeah, they have a lot of really good songs. I'll have to make a Foo Fighters playlist.
Foo Fighters bracket.
Yeah, so Foo Fighters, for me, like growing up, like Everlong, like when I found out that Everlong and My Hero was by the same band, I was like, I'm buying that fucking album. I'm going to buy that CD right now. And I loved it. Everlong is probably the first drop D tuning song that I ever learned on guitar. To this day, it's one of my favorite strumming patterns to play. It's a very unique strumming pattern. Like when you're just listening to it without playing it, it probably just sounds like guitar like anything else, but it's a really fun, bouncy, strange kind of strum that was kind of hard. That was hard to learn when I first learned it. And it just became easier over time. Everlong is a great song. It's an all-time favorite. I mean, we could literally just do Foo Fighters bracket. We could do band brackets. You know, like it could be all Gaga versus all Gaga, and we
Oh,
could
yeah. Oh.
make the tier list. You know what I mean? Like we can do whatever we want. But yeah. So what was your number 3?
Number 3 was Gaga Paparazzi.
So I think on the bracket I faced Paparazzi off against Poker Face, right? So what made you
Yes.
choose Paparazzi more than Poker Face to get it this far?
Well, okay. So that one, when that song came out, that was like my favorite at the time.
Uh huh.
And I just have like very fond memories of on the radio, like literally spending hours searching through different channels, waiting to hear that song to come on.
Oh wow, gotcha.
And I've always loved it. I remember the first time I saw the music video, I was very shocked. I just that's I mean, I just have so much history with that song. And not to say that Poker Face isn't good because I think,
Obviously,
basically all her music is
right.
incredible. She's my favorite artist ever. Um but yeah, I just have a lot of memories associated with that song, and that's just kind of one that I've been like that's always been in my top.
Hey, amazingly, I just got a YouTube subscriber and I have notifications on, so when you hear the recording back, you'll hear music playing over you talking that last
Oh.
couple of words. I'm really sorry. How do
That's
I?
no, I mean, that's you just play that over whatever you whenever you want to hear me stop talking.
Yeah, that's the
Like,
the
oh no,
playoff
I'm
music.
getting a subscriber.
Yeah, no subscriber. Well, that's the end. So Paparazzi is Glycerine by Bush. Like basically exactly. It's a half step different. So if Glycerine starts at F, Paparazzi starts at F sharp. And then you literally play the same 4 chords and they're the same 2 songs literally in a row. Yeah, I like Paparazzi a lot. I think that it is for me when I play it on guitar, the most fun that I have with Paparazzi is the melody over the music, what she's singing. I have fun recreating that on the higher pitched notes on guitar. That's my favorite part of playing that song.
Oh, and
So,
also the live performance from the 2009
yeah.
VMAs. That I remember sitting watching that live going, okay, she's like gonna be a huge star. Like this is a turning point for her.
Yeah. Yeah, it really holds up. I mean, I saw it for the first time like last year and I still was like, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So what I genuinely don't know what your number 2 is because I think you bolded the winners, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. Okay, all right. So all right. So what is your number 2 then?
It's real teeny tiny. It's Toto Africa.
Okay. So I feel like I think you had talked about that being one of your favorite songs ever before. Is that one you've had since you were a kid? Like the jungle song? What's the other one?
Mm-hmm. Tarzan Boy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very nostalgic reason, just because that's one like my dad loves that song, so I heard that a lot growing up. Just like if you had put Kansas Dust in the Wind or Carry On Wayward Son, that would have been there.
Yes, yeah.
It's just things, songs that I heard over and over my dad playing. And I just that's a great song. I love belting out the chorus and
Mm-hmm.
as a
That
kid trying to figure out what exactly he was saying.
So Africa is one that's like I think the melody is sublime both in the verse and the chorus. I will say, I mean, it's almost probably a 40-year-old song now. I think there's been different riffs and alterations of that chorus where now when you go back, it's kind of it's the same cadence 4 times in a row. Like it's the same
Mhm.
melody, 3 or 4 lyrics in a row or sentences of lyrics in a row. But I think even I even think the melody of the verses is really good. But I think the lyrics are a weakness. I'm like, who fucking cares? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, but it's still like in a kind of an all timer. All right. So what's your number 1?
Lincoln Park Numb.
I was so fucking surprised by this. Like, I thought for sure,
Really?
yeah, because I thought for sure it was going to be an older 80s song, a Don't Stop Believin', a Toto, a Take on Me. I couldn't believe nobody, So what's your story with, if Gaga's your favorite artist of all time, how does Numb beat out Paparazzi?
When I was a young wannabe emo girl, this song was like my anthem.
Sure.
I
Okay.
would listen to this all the time and just think about how dark life is. And I don't know. But that's always, yeah, that's nostalgic reasons. And I just think it's a great song. And I've been listening to it quite a bit ever since this bracket.
That's funny.
And yeah, and R.I.P. Chester, love
Yeah.
Linkin Park. I just think it's a great song. I love belting out the chorus as well, and seen the video probably hundreds of times.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something. I was ready to ask you another question and I forgot it. Oh, what I was going to say was, it seems like it hit you at the right time. Like it was a teen angst young adult song, and that's probably how old you were when it came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like time and place. I'm experiencing this. Kind of like how I've talked about Taylor Swift songs, going back and listening to her earlier catalog. They're great because if you are the age appropriate for the audience when it comes out, you identify with it, and if you're older, you're nostalgic about that time period in your life. You're right. So Numb probably has like a similar place in a lot of people's hearts for that same reason. I really like Numb as well. I think picked it over Crawling. I don't remember. Maybe I didn't. Maybe because I did. I do have a more personal attachment to Crawling because I heard it more. But I do think Linkin Park's. I think they were a really amazing band. Lyrics wise, they kind of got a little bit old, but they had a knack for production value. They actually had a really. I think that they were really creative musically, especially Meteora, their second album. I genuinely think that's probably like a masterpiece album. Like those songs are so good, so like dense with like, again, like a lot of melody, a lot of lyrics, kind of proving that they were the real deal. A lot of experimentation. You think about the song Faint. I still remember the first time I heard that high-pitched whiny thing that starts the song. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And now I'm like, that's like one of the best things I've ever heard. So yeah, I like Linkin Park Numb as well. All right, so let's get to mine. I'm going to share my top 4, and then after this episode releases, I'm actually going to share my full bracket in the Discord so that people can see what won out on the individual competitions. My top 4 really surprised me. I think I just talked to you about music being a time and place, and I think I've also talked a lot about how we meet entertainment halfway. It's what we bring to music and what we bring to movies that decide if they are impressionable or impactful to us. It's not necessarily the things on their own. You know what I mean? So my number 4 is Toto, Africa. We just talked about it. You can't deny the melody, and the musicianship. I know that I have a tendency to break things down to their simplest form because I'm mostly an acoustic guitarist. So like that's what interests me most is like, what's the progression? What's the heartbeat here? Not all the little specificities and intricacies. And if you think about all the little extra instruments in Africa and the little accented noises and sounds that go on throughout that song, it is like a really fully featured, song built on this, pop progression anthem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my number 3 is actually Dear Theodosia from Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
That song, like I can like get 30 seconds into it without tearing up because I just think of my son. I think about because again, it's what I bring to it. I'm not thinking about Aaron Burr singing about Theodosia. I'm thinking about how the music and lyrics remind me of the emotions, that I feel for my son and, I thought I was so smart and you break me apart. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was this big
Yeah.
tough guy, and now I'm like this fucking, small-chi dad, which I can't help it,
Oh.
And even though fucking Lin-Manuel Miranda comes in with, "Oh, Philip, that's my son, Philip." Like, it
Poor Lin
doesn't,
Manuel. He
and
tries.
listen, and it's not an insult to him. We all sound like bridge trolls next to Leslie Odom Jr., okay?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, oh my gosh, he's so amazing.
that guy is incredible. um, but yeah, Dear Theodosia, just, yeah, again, the melody, the intricacy, and yeah, the depth of the lyrics, the different points of views of like parenting, and you know, as they grow up, you realize you're getting older, and you realize, it's like you, and then you like appreciate and think about, oh, I wonder if my parents felt this way when I was a kid. Oh my God, how did they get through every day? You know what I mean? So yeah,
Mhm.
Hamilton, Dear Theodosia, I definitely take a lot to that one. I feel bad, but number 2 is Moana, How Far I'll Go, which is also a Lin fucking Manuel Miranda lyric song. But I just took the brackets one song at a time. I didn't look at everything as a whole and think about what I wanted to win. I just looked at each individual matchup. Okay, this song, this song, this
Yeah.
one, this one, this one, this one. And I kept getting to the end. I was like, oh my fucking God, how is Moana this far? This doesn't make any sense. But and again, I don't know if anybody has watched Moana since I've recommended it repeatedly. It's the best Disney movie since the 90s Renaissance. It's like, it's like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Toy Story, Moana for me. Like, it's up there. It's endlessly rewatchable, beautiful animation, music you'll sing for the rest of your life, and a really fun adventure. It's incredible. And but specifically How Far I'll Go, like some of these songs, it's like because of the emotions they give me about other family. And some of the songs, sometimes music is like the emotions that it gives you, right? And like How
Mhm.
Far I'll Go is like me. It reminds me of me, of like, I always disappointed my parents because I wouldn't just keep a fucking normal job. I ran off to film school and wasted a bunch of money, a bunch of time. I came back. I didn't even put it to any goddamn use. I got normal jobs again. Then I got married. Then I didn't. And then I finally tried to make movies, and making movies was a literal living hell for me and everybody around me, because they're some of the hardest things that you can do. They're the biggest time commitments and things to accomplish in your entire fucking life. And, in the song, she kind of sings about how she wishes she could be the perfect daughter. She wishes she could do the things that her parents want her to do. She wishes she could just make everybody around her, but at the end, she has to be true to herself. And I'm just like, I identified with that so much. And it's such a powerful message that I'm just like, yeah, I got to do it. Like, and again, like, there's so much orchestra and musicianship, and it's not just I think How Far I'll Go is actually a G, D, E minor, C version of what I'm talking about. It's not just that, it's everything built on it with full orchestra and the variety of melody in the song and the lyrics. A lot of song choruses, I'm not going to talk as long as about the first one. We'll wrap it up here. But a lot of song choruses are just the same lyrics again, right? Like even Everlong and Africa and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Mhm.
like, oh, this is the chorus, so we say these lyrics again. Like, what's special about How Far I'll Go is like the lyrics change and the story continues. Like, she reveals more. She's saying the same thing in different ways in the same chorus melody. So it's kind of a richer lyrical experience. So yeah, I I feel bad. So did you listen to that song? Do you know that song?
Oh yeah. So Moana I watched one time. I ended up not saying that the movie's bad or anything. I ended up falling asleep because I was very sleepy. But
No one's perfect. You fell asleep during Overwatch, and now you're addicted too. That's fine.
yeah, see what happens? So Moana will be my favorite movie.
Yeah.
But no, I've always loved that song. That song stuck out to me. I've listened to it a lot. It actually made it to the very end, right before the final four.
Wow. Okay. So there you go. So my number one, and it's a it's a complicated discussion, I'll talk about it. But it's Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge. And again, it's what I bring to the song. Like when I hear Under the Bridge, I do not hear the Red Hot Chili Peppers singing about drug addiction. Okay? I hear me as a kid and my aunts and uncles, who were all musicians, like playing this song right in front of me live when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, that's the song on the radio, and I know people who can play it for real right here, right now, every instrument, every note, sing, play, the whole song start to finish. Oh my God, this is incredible. You know, I think that opening riff was one of the first kind of finger picking riffs that I learned besides Tears in Heaven when I was first learning guitar. And my late brother, Red Hot Chili Peppers, was one of his favorite bands, and he really loved the song. So every time I hear this song and play this song, I think about when I was a kid, when the future was wild, I'm going to play guitar, I'm going to be a filmmaker, when my brother was alive, all these things. And so it's like, I can't help but like place it number one, because I'm like, you know, wipe away all the other tracks on this list, which is full of amazing music. It's like, you know, these top three are everything. It's literally, it's like Under the Bridge for my brother and family, How Far I'll Go for me, and Dear Theodosia for my son. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I care about. You know, it's like myself and the people around me. Not in that particular order. My son would be first. Okay.
I was thinking about that. I was like, okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of how I came to it. So this was a really fun exercise, and really thinking about like pitting. Man, wouldn't it be cool to like do a bunch of like rock bands? Like, I don't know. And again, we'd have to specify what is rock. Like, is Foo Fighters Slipknot? Not really, but maybe Foo Fighters is Stone Sour, the more radio friendly Corey Taylor band. I don't know. But wouldn't it be fun to like get to every band's number one and then put all the number ones against each other and choose like the ultimate rock song or something like that? That'd be really cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for the music discussion. Let's talk about Evil Dead Rise and the Evil Dead series. The Evil Dead series. So, Mirrors, I think we both watched Evil Dead 2 for the first time, for the podcast a long time ago, either last year or year before. Was it last year? Was it 2022?
It was October of 21.
Wow, fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, it was last October. It was only 6 months ago or 7 months ago, whatever.
Time doesn't exist.
It's a flat circle. We're born in our graves. So, but if I recall, you had a vague familiarity with the Evil Dead series overall, but had not seen Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness. Is that right?
Correct.
But you now have seen Army of Darkness.
I have.
So I will say, well, let me ask you your opinion. What is your kind of brief, 5-minute review of Army of Darkness? What did you think of it?
It is, I feel like it's Evil Dead for the masses.
Okay.
That is a movie that I don't know exactly like how well, it did.
It bombed. It did terrible.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it would be one that would appeal more to the general public, versus Evil Dead 2, because I know that that's like a big cult classic. But I felt Army of Darkness was maybe easier to digest. Although it was still kind of the same basic, because from what I understand, basically each movie is kind of like almost a remake of the previous one in a way. Like,
yeah, the first portion of the movie remakes the last one, and then it progresses the story forward. It's kind of unique in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just felt like it was a more like general audience friendly version of the second one. So that is interesting that it bombed. So I feel like that's one that I definitely had seen at Blockbuster as a kid.
Oh yeah. The movie, the cover art is like ingrained into my skull. Like, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So how would you compare? So how would you compare it to Evil Dead 2, and which one do you think you like better now?
So I probably Evil Dead 2 was one for me that was it wasn't like a hard watch. It was just kind of like what's going on the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little maybe too off the wall. And 3 I felt it was a lot easier for me to kind of understand, pay attention to. There was a lot less, I guess, randomness is what I would say.
A little bit more structured, little
Yes.
three act structure, easier to follow because of that,
Right. Like if
or focused, I
like
guess.
you could say like Evil Dead 2 was Sam Raimi as a teen, Army of Darkness was Sam Raimi as an adult.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I enjoyed it maybe more than Evil Dead 2. But I've only seen that once and I didn't see that as a kid, so I don't have that feel of, oh, this is one of my, favorite movies. I don't have that nostalgia to help me with that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, so Army of Darkness was a childhood staple of mine. I watched it probably 100 times. I had no idea that it was a part of the Evil Dead series. I only watched Army of Darkness. I think I've said that before. I didn't know it
Yeah.
was related to Evil Dead 1 or 2. And even though I bought the Blu-ray like a decade ago, still haven't watched it since because I watched it so much, I still feel like I could recite the majority of the movie. Where it's like he lands and he's handcuffed and he goes down and fights the monster and the chainsaw connects and the guy tells him that he's the one, and then Embeth David's from Matilda's there for some reason, and then he's got to go out to the woods and find the right book, and he bluffs the fucking words. He's like Klato
Yeah.
Barakta. And then he gets like the little mini ashes fight him, and then he gets like the doppelganger evil version of him, little goody two shoes, little goody two shoes. Like
Yeah.
that's just literally all from memory from my childhood. And
That's
so
so funny.
yeah, so like I remember the whole movie. So like the day it starts to like go, I'll rewatch it. But Shop Smart, Shop S Smart, it's just
Hmm.
there. It's just in my brain. At the end, like when the goblin shows up at S Smart and he's got to get a shotgun for like the finale, or like the secret bonus extra ending or whatever. So yeah, I love Army of Darkness. I'm more personally attached to Army of Darkness. I do think watching Evil Dead 2 as an adult, I had more of an appreciation for Evil Dead 2 because it was a little more wild, a little more out there. Like, why the fuck is the deer head laughing? Why is it a puppet animatronic and they're all like laughing together? What is this fucking movie? Like, I kind of liked it for that strangeness. Um, but yeah, they actually have said, both Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell have said, like, Army of Darkness was the studio version of Evil Dead. It was the biggest budget they
Yeah.
ever had. There was a lot more kind of studio involvement, and yeah, that was basically them getting a budget to do it again, essentially, and to make the third one. And it had to be called Army of Darkness, like, specifically so that people didn't feel like they had to watch two other movies to get caught up, because they wanted it. If you saw, the third movie in a trilogy and you didn't know the first two movies existed, you wouldn't go to the theaters to see that. So they had to call it something
Right.
else. So have you ever seen Evil Dead 2013 from 10 years ago?
No.
I watched it once and really liked it, and I've actually been wanting to buy it, but I just refuse to like overpay for a movie that's 10 years old and has like been
Hmm.
available forever now. And everywhere I go to try to buy it, it's always insanely expensive. Like, not even around Halloween time or other Evil Dead releases. It's just always expensive. I think there's something in the distribution deal later down the line that, like, it just always has to be expensive because it was a shoestring budget and we need our money back. I don't know. But if it ever dropped to $10, I'd buy it and watch it again. I watched it one time. I remembered thinking that it was pretty solid, but it was way different in tone. It was like super serious. So that's gonna catch everyone up to date with our familiarity of the Evil Dead series. Now I actually want to talk about the new movie Evil Dead Rise right now. Okay, so this is the spoiler-free section. We will not spoil the movie at all. I will try not to give away anything major. I watched the trailer after I watched the movie. So yeah, as a reminder, I don't watch movie trailers. I try to avoid them at all costs. So this will be very spoiler free. We'll speak briefly in vague general terms about what we thought. We'll give the movie a rating in the spoiler free section, and then we will go ahead and chat a few spoilers to see if there's anything else either one of us wants to share. So let me ask you, Mirrors, first. What was your overall thoughts on Evil Dead Rise?
I was very surprised. I expected it to be or how how s- I get how careful should I be about, like, are you okay with
I'd say first act stuff, like the setup and kind of the general idea of the apartment and the family is probably fine. Yeah.
okay. I figured it was going to be like an over the top, like, um goofy, kind of like how the others were, and I
Mm-hmm.
was surprised at the tone of it. And although there were elements there were moments that were that way. Overall, like it was a legitimate horror movie.
Yeah.
I
Did
didn't expect that.
Had you seen the trailer beforehand?
I saw it, I think, in movie theaters a couple times, and then maybe on TV a couple times, but it was just in the background. I wasn't really paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that there was a mom involved.
Okay.
That was it. I didn't know really anything else. I couldn't tell you what it was about.
So, yeah, I would say so for me. I really liked the movie. I was very pleasantly surprised. I was like, I can't believe how fun this movie is.
Hmm.
I'm really glad that I bought it instead of rented it. I paid the extra $5 to buy it because I definitely want to watch it again in the future. Um, but I actually wasn't surprised by the tone because that Evil Dead in 2013 was the shift in tone. Evil Dead
Uh,
2013 is also very serious and straight up scary with not a lot of the slapstick. I think this one, it has the seriousness of Evil Dead 2013 with references and kind of reverence of the slapstick of the originals.
mhm.
Um, I'll speak on a few things that I liked the most, and maybe a couple of things that didn't work for me, and then I'll come back to you to see what you want to echo or add, and then we'll rate it and we'll get it to spoilers. So we don't want to spend a lot of time here.
Right.
And I'll speak in more detail in spoilers. But yeah, I thought the performances were great. I thought the cast was awesome. I really liked the family dynamic that was on display.
Mhm.
Cinematography, I thought it was beautifully shot with some really fun camera moves and just a slick production. Like this,
Mhm.
what's amazing is like this is like another studio Evil Dead, but it kind of had the rawness of the older ones. You know what I mean? Like it just was like kind of grimy. I liked the family dynamic. I won't get into that right now, but yeah, I liked the relationships that existed and how they kind of evolved as the movie progressed. I liked the portrayal of violence. That's all I'll say. Um, and I'll talk about the title card of the movie in a little bit. There are a few things that didn't quite work for me, which I'll get into really in spoilers. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I did not have a lot to nitpick. It's like a 90-minute seat of your pants. There's like maybe a little bit slow towards the end of the first act, beginning of the second act, as they're kind of doing the things you need to do to set up an Evil Dead movie, which may be part of my cons as well. I'll get into in a little bit. But overall, I was really pleasantly surprised. I had a really good time with it, and yeah, I liked it a lot. Let me go back to you, see if there's anything else you want to add, and then we can give it our rating.
Um, yeah, it's one that I was trying to think, like, who I would recommend it to, that maybe, like, if they weren't an Evil Dead fan. And that is, I mean, that's definitely one that I think anybody should watch, even if you've never seen the other Evil Dead movies,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. I think it's one, it's very, like Army of Darkness. I think it does what Army of Darkness was wanting to do, which is kind of appeal to the masses. And I
So
just think, yeah.
go ahead, keep going. What were you say?
No, I was just gonna say, I just think, yeah, that it's I think general audiences that love horror movies would like this a lot. And not there's not, like I said, too much of like the original Evil Dead where it's like full like insane, enough to not push people away. So I
Yes.
think yeah, a general audience, good all around horror movie.
Okay. So what on the 1 to 10 scale that I created, what is your rating?
So I chose to give it an 8.
Okay. I gave it an 8 as well. There's really only a couple of things that kind of was like, that wasn't exactly perfect, or I kind of wished they had gone a different direction with this decision. But,
Yeah.
that's probably just subjective opinion, and the things that didn't work for me, maybe it would work for others. But yeah, overall, I would agree, 8 out of 10. I don't know if I would recommend it to people that aren't into horror just because of the subject matter and some of the sequences in the movie. I think Army of
Hmm.
Darkness is. I think you're right with Army of Darkness that is definitely like, especially because it's so old that. I don't know. Even if Army of Darkness got too scary or too gory, it's 30 years old, scary and gory, so it's probably hilarious
Right.
now. um, but yeah, this one was like had like some really strong, potentially upsetting sequences that I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know. So yeah, so that's gonna do it for our spoiler-free review and rating. Let's get into spoilers so we can talk about a few more specifics before we get out of here. Full spoiler warning for Evil Dead Rise. If you have not watched the movie, we are not going to, specifically purposely give away spoilers, but we are going to talk about more specifics and the ending of the movie and kind of some of the bigger points. So actually, no, we're going to specifically purposely spoil it. So yeah, you've been warned. um, yeah. So I don't know. Like, so what are your highlights and lowlights now that we are in spoiler? Like, what was your favorite kind of most shocking, cool things, and what are some things that you didn't like or you thought didn't work?
There were some moments where I legit like jaw dropped. I had a physical and audible reaction to, specifically the scalp scene,
Yeah.
which I thought was insane. That whole opening sequence was incredible, which we'll talk more about.
Yeah.
Um, the cheese grater to the
Oh.
leg, that really got me.
Woo.
The glass swallowing, that bothered me. And then just like all the blood was cool.
The blood
It
was
was so
fucking
cool.
gross, wasn't it? Like, it was like
It was.
black death blood. Like, Jesus Christ.
It was awesome.
Um, yeah, so I'm glad that you weren't intimately familiar with the trailer or remembered a lot about it, because the trailer gives away a lot of the big moments. The elevator of blood, the sister getting the chainsaw at the
Hmm.
end. My favorite line in the movie, in a line that I'm going to think about for a long time, is "Mommy's with the maggots now." Like, I think
Yeah.
that line is so fucking good and like creepy, and it's like, seriously, I mean, I don't know. Do we have horror iconic lines besides "Here's Johnny"? Do we need to do a horror iconic line tier list?
Um, let's see, was that the boogeyman from Halloween?
Uh,
Uh,
hey, it's Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street.
yeah.
Look out, it's Freddy Krueger. uh,
Got
I was gonna say from Friday the
yeah.
13th is, "Hi, I'm Jason."
It's just all, hi, I'm Michael.
Jason's here. Here's my
I am
character's
Chucky.
name. Yeah. Um, like, yeah, I don't know, but but uh, "Mommy's with the maggots now" is like,
Yeah.
that's like iconic, instantly iconic for me. Um, yeah, the
She did such a
gore,
good job.
dude. All the performances were good. I'll say the sister that has the kind of like, I'm pregnant. I'm kind of the loser sibling. Do I want to get more serious? Do I want to raise a family like my sister did? I thought the setup was really good. I think the payoff was kind of fluffed off for the spectacle. Like, they didn't kind of
Hmm.
wrap all that up. They didn't really get a chance to, because the sister that was possessed dies. Which, that's one thing that,
Yeah.
like, visually it was cool how they all came together and morphed together as this one kind of blob monster, but that was like infinitely less threatening than just Mom. Like I thought Mom was way scarier than all of them balled
Yeah.
up into one. So I wished there
But
was
it was a good final boss.
yeah. Um I think that opening title card might be one of the best opening title cards ever in any film in any genre. Like a pro and con of the movie is the title card is like the best shot in the movie. Like
It was very insidious.
dude, it was incredible. It rises behind the tree line. It's blood red, the reflection of the letters in the water, just the shot and everything. So I had not seen the trailer. The only image that I saw was I did see a girl floating in water. I saw like a still image as I was like scrolling through Twitter one day, but I didn't know who it was. And then I saw the poster, so I knew it was gonna be like a family. But I thought the person on the water was the person on the poster. I didn't know they were two different people. Kind of wished the cabin either was more involved or not involved at all. Kind of was like this kind of bookend. I don't know. It felt like a fake out. Like here's an Evil Dead movie, but then nope, we're not there. Never mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked the movie. What else did I
What
want
did
to
you
say? Go ahead.
What did you think about like all the other like movie references in it?
I was
Like
gonna bring
you
that up.
have
I literally have a note about that.
Yeah.
Do references are references to other horror films over the top? Does it take you out of this movie and make you think of other movies? Because like the blood in the elevator with The Shining, it was on purpose. They didn't accidentally do
Yeah.
that. Oh, was there a Stanley Kubrick movie that did this? I didn't know. Oh my gosh. Like very much on purpose. But then I'm instantly thinking about The Shining. I'm like not thinking about Evil Dead anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't to me it was like, oh, that's The Shining, but I didn't go like it didn't take me out of the movie. It made me like it more, I guess, because I was like, oh my God, that's a one of my favorite movies of all time. This is great. This is
Yeah.
great that this is referencing that. And then the shot at the door,
Yep.
looking up at Beth,
Yep.
I
For
was
Jack
like,
Nicholson.
okay,
Yep.
yeah.
And then I think they mentioned Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street earlier in the movie too. I think the kids talk about it. Yeah, and a lot of horror movies do that. I mean, we literally have a movie called Freddy versus Jason. There's a lot of horror references and crossover stuff that happens in a lot of franchises. I do think, I don't know, I just think it's the nature of progressing further into the future and the more self-aware that we become, that audiences become, and it's like, well, if I don't acknowledge that I know this is a reference, I'm going to be accused of ripping something off, so I need to like be really explicit about it or state it exactly. You know what I mean? Whereas like I don't know, like if I had my way, horror films would never reference each other, but then you would hear about them in the Scream franchise because it makes sense in the Scream franchise because they're literally talking about horror films. Like I want film franchises to be, the Doors from Nightmare Before Christmas. Everybody's in their own world. They're doing their own thing. We don't know anybody else exists. Only focus on us. And then if there's like a crossover, like a Freddy versus Jason, then go ahead. You know what I mean? But that's just I'm weird about that stuff. But yeah, I thought for the most part, I thought that it worked. It did kind of take me out a little bit. I'm like, oh, Shining. But I still thought it was fucking awesome. It was a ton of blood. There was like apparently like thousands of gallons of fake blood for this movie.
Yeah.
I just like how it escalated. The first act of this movie, I was like, how far are they going to go? It's a mom and her kids. They're not like, what are they going to do? They're going to save the mom, right? Like they're going to do an exorcism and save the mom. Nope. Mom's killing two of these kids and going for the third one. And we're all getting possessed and we're all fucked. I was like, yes, that's fucking awesome.
I definitely was not expecting the kids to get it. Or the kid out in the hallway to get it.
So one of the best sequences in the movie is the eye hole sequence where the mom is out in the hallway. And that is really reminiscent of Silent Hill 4, the video game.
Okay.
So I know that you're going to play through the Silent Hill series, so I won't spoil it.
Mm-hmm.
But Silent Hill 4, I think you've seen pictures of it or I've talked about it. It takes place in an apartment complex. And one of the gameplay mechanics that, again, you find out in the first 5 minutes is when you look out that peephole, different things are happening in that hallway. So, like, as the game progresses, you see different stuff in the hallway. And
Oh.
and it was like that, like, immediately made me think of Silent Hill 4 because I was like, again, and it was like really clever to like have like an action sequence just happen from this perspective where like the gunshot,
Mm-hmm.
battle happens. And again, this whole thing was in the trailer. Like, nothing a big old hug and kiss from you won't fix. Let mommy inside. Like, that was all in the trailer. Because I watched the trailer after I watched the movie. I was like, oh my god, these are my favorite surprise moments. I'm so fucking happy. I'm always happy I didn't watch a trailer every time I watch a movie. I've never been, oh damn, I wish I would have watched this trailer first. That would have made the movie so much better, having it all ruined for me. That's literally never happened. I thought one of the opportunities of the movie was that it's kind of a big deal to not be at a cabin in the woods anymore for an Evil Dead movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's there are basically no woods. It all takes place in this high rise, Evil Dead Rise, and I just don't think it was explored to its fullest. It still all took place in one room. Like, I would have liked to go through the different floors and different apartments and kind of see. It felt like they were really constrained from a budget and like cast perspective, where it's like, it's us and two neighbors. That's the movie.
Well, and they even played with they said, oh, we could get down through like this unoccupied room. And they were like, oh, we'd have to get our tools. And I was like, oh, we're going to go into this room and like crazy things are going to happen. But then they didn't do it.
They literally, like, so when you're making a movie, I know this from personal experience and I know this just from
Mm-hmm.
being a fan of movies, sometimes, creative ideas happen organically and sometimes creative ideas happen logistically. And I think logistically they said we have to keep the movie in this apartment because we don't have the budget to go anywhere else. So let's explain away all the other avenues so that people will accept that we're staying here. And it worked, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that, I mean, it was rather convenient that the son was a DJ and had a record player. But I thought that was a fun way of, something that's really satisfying in movies that doesn't get taken advantage of often enough, I don't think, is like people's particular skill sets, making them the reason that they're the protagonist in this story. Like, they have a specific set of skills. Or life path or perspective that makes them, the best and most interesting character, in this moment. Thinking about the movie Nope,
Mm-hmm.
I won't spoil that movie, but the two main characters in that movie, what they do for a living and the battle that they're in and kind of the rules they need to figure out, it's specifically tuned to their
Mm-hmm.
sensibilities in a really smart way. Like, nobody else can do this but us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the kind of stuff you want to see. So yeah, so I and apparently also that one of the voices on the old record from the past was Bruce Campbell. He's one of the
Yeah.
priests. I'd heard that in trivia. I read that in trivia.
Yeah.
Um,
I was, so I rented it on Prime. And it has like that trivia that comes up, and I
yeah,
saw that, and I was at first I thought he was the priest until I was reading IMDb trivia, and it was talking about how and it mentioned that like a certain line that he said it, and I was like, oh, actually, I didn't real it was just some other voice on there who said like it's called the Book of the Dead, like for a reason you need to destroy it. Did you see something else about what that line means and who he was?
the only thing that I read in trivia and I'd heard about the movie after I watched it was that in that recording they specifically mention 3 Book of the Deads,
Mm-hmm.
which seems to indicate that every version of Evil Dead exists. There's a book for the original trilogy, there's a book for Evil Dead 2013, and now there's this book. So there's like
Mm-hmm.
rumors, MCU style, you could get stories or characters from every hero who's had to battle the Book of the Dead from every version because there's 3 books.
Well, there also in an Army of Darkness there were 3 Necronomicons. 2 were fake.
But there was only supposed to be
right?
one real one. And this
Right.
and this recording is is kind of positing that there are 3 real ones. There's 3 actually 3 Books of the Dead instead of just one. Which I actually thought the book looked really cool. I thought the voices, like the demonic voices, were all really good, for the old priest playback, to the mom, to the kids when they change. I gotta kill the creepy crawlies inside my tummy.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. So yeah, overall, I really liked it. What were you saying?
Another thing. So one thing that did put me off a little bit was pretty much the entire cast was either Australian or British.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell that.
It was New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell it. I could tell that they were hiding accents. And it was a little, it made some of the lines come out weird, I thought. That was, the only thing.
Yes.
That kind of, pulled me out a little bit, was oh, they're specifically hiding an accent.
Right.
And so it made me want to just say, why don't they just face it there and and have them use their natural accents.
Listen, the Evil Dead can attack the Shire. It's possible. I think everybody of a certain age associates New Zealand with the Lord of the Rings trilogy because it was over half a decade of our lives hearing about those fucking movies and them coming out every year. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And there was it was like a multi-year production over there. So yeah, but yeah,
that was really the only thing. And everything else was great. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It's easy to rewatch. I'd probably fast forward the setup of gotta find the Book of the Dead, gotta read from it, gotta summon. Again, there's a responsibility to hardcore fans, but then there's also, I don't know, I feel like maybe there's got to be something else. I'm also a big fan of rules in movies, and the rules are kind of whatever in the Evil Dead. It's sometimes you can kill them, sometimes you can't. How they get this one kind of toyed actually with having more concrete rules where it's the blood of a possessed, if it gets into you, kind of vampire style, you get possessed as well. I just kind of wish there was a more kind of solid a solution to chase. How do we win? Even if we fail, how do we win? I don't know how we win.
Because he said on the recording, he was we try to dismember the bodies, but then at the end he was kind of but all you could do, you just run, you can't get rid of it,
right? And you kind of that's a reverse it's a reverse Superman problem in that instance. You're gonna write baby into a corner. If there's no solution, what the fuck are we doing here? If Superman has no weaknesses, why the hell do I care about what's gonna hurt him? Nothing. You know what I mean? Exactly. If it's literally just it's the zombie apocalypse, but for demon possession, there needs to be, maybe literally the solution is they get Earth, we gotta go. We're leaving Earth. The demons won. So yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, that's how it kind of ended, right?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So they teed up a sequel. So the opening and closing of chapters of the movie was essentially setting up the next movie, and then this movie is kind of like a prequel to whatever this Cabin in the Woods girl is gonna spread. And from that instance, I liked it because it was a satisfying conclusion where the sister decides she's going to be a mom, decides she's going to become more responsible. She loses her sister and their kids, but overcomes the evil. And so the story could be over. Or you could see it continuing to go because they teed up a potential future, which is most good endings have that. They resolve things and leave the potential for more. So I thought the ending was mostly pretty solid too. That is going to do it for this episode of the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, email The email address is in the show notes, along with all the social medias if you're interested. Thank you, Mirrors, for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for inviting me.
And that's going to do it. Until next time.